Put a finger down if you found yourself comparing yourself to another woman or another person for the umpteenth time and it didn't bring you any happiness. In fact, it only brought you depression, anxiety, and just insecurity. Now, if you just put your finger down, do not fret. I'm sure a ton of other people did too. I know I did. So today we're going to get into some practical tips on how we can overcome comparing ourselves to other people constantly and just starting to be comfortable with what we've been blessed with. So number one, in order for us to truly stop comparing ourselves to other people, we first need to acknowledge the fact that we're doing it. We need some type of awareness. You need to understand your triggers. What is it that's causing you to think this way? Maybe it might start off with you scrolling on social media and you see a sister post something that looks so nice. She just got another dress, or she just got these shoes that you've been wanting for a long time. Maybe she got a nice head wrap or a nice purse, whatever be it may. And you start to look at her and think, wow, that is so nice. I look at my wardrobe and I don't have that much nice things. I don't have nice dresses like that. I don't have the name brand purses or the name brand shoes, and I want that stuff. But do you see the root of that? It's a little insecurity mixed with envy. The trigger was in you seeing another sister wearing something that you don't have and that you yearn for. And that's not her fault, because there's nothing wrong with having nice clothes and designer items. Like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But you need to be first thankful for the things that you do have. You have clothing on your back. I'm sure that there are people all over the world that wish they had clothing, even the ones that you have. Sure, they might not be name brand, but honey, so what? Listen, I will be the first to say I will shop a clearance rack any day. It doesn't matter how much money I make. If I can learn how to save a buck, I'm gonna do it. And you can find a nice minimalist shirt, a nice minimalist bottom, put it together, add some nice accessories, and boom, you got yourself a nice little outfit. But if you understand that social media, even in general, is something that might trigger you in seeing other people, and it doesn't even have to just be pertaining to clothes, it could be accomplishments as well. Let's say you see a couple on social media, they just purchased their home. You've been waiting to get a home for maybe 5 years, 6 years, and you're still in this apartment, you're tired, you're frustrated, and yet here comes this new couple buying a home. Oh my gosh, how is it that they can do that? That's not fair, da-da-da. You see where the issue is? The issue isn't in the couple, the issue isn't with yourself. That should be something that you applaud. You should be happy to see our people purchase their own land or become homeowners. Like, that is such a blessing. And maybe that might not be in the cards for you at this point in your life, but that doesn't mean that you look down on someone else. You continue to be faithful in the apartment that you are in, and when the time is right, the Most High will make it happen for you to be able to purchase a home with your significant other or your kids. But again, going back to acknowledging our triggers, maybe social media might be something that you have to limit your exposure to. Like, at the end of the day, you honestly just have to be real with yourself. If you find yourself struggling with that spirit of envy, or if you struggle to even just congratulate or be happy for other people and their accomplishments, then you do need to limit your exposure on social media, because a lot of people do like to broadcast their accomplishments. They like to broadcast things that they've achieved, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. You just have to learn how to overcome that envious spirit and learn how to be happy for people, because your sister isn't your competition. And honestly, I get it, because that's something that I had to learn too. I had to shift my mindset from being always envious from other people to now being sit me down next to the sister who is doing better than I am so I can take notes. So I too can learn. Instead of me being envious on the sides and thinking, oh my gosh, she thinks she's so much better than everyone else and da-da-da-da. No, I'm going to say, you know what? Hey, this is something that I would like to learn one day. How did you accomplish that? How did you start that business? How did you start that cooking class? How did you become an entrepreneur? Like, how did you do these things so that I can learn and I can one day accomplish that too? Hey guys, another thing that I wanted to mention is you don't always know the behind the scenes of people's lives as to why they are in the condition that they're in. And that can go for marriages, because I noticed that a lot of us like to idealize marriage and say, oh my gosh, that is goals, or compare our marriage to someone else's and say, I wish my marriage was like that. But no one's posting their disagreements. No one's posting their arguments. No one's posting their lows. Everyone's posting their highs, because nobody necessarily wants to see those things, because they're not heart worthy. They're not double tap worthy. So you don't even know what's going on behind the scenes or what they may have gone through to reach that level of happiness where they are today. You don't know the scary things that they may have gone through, the moments where they may have felt like walking out. You just don't know. And even for those who might be like in the content creation field, I remember one time I was scrolling on TikTok and the girl was saying how a lot of these young girls have been flown out to these private islands or these private parties, and the acts that they've had to do in order to gain the success and monetization status that they are at today. Truly, not all that glistens is gold. So stop looking at other people's grass and just learn to water your own, because half the time it's just fake. And this kind of leads into my next point. Practically, you need to stop yourself once you realize that these negative thoughts are coming in your head. Don't berate yourself. Don't talk down at yourself. Acknowledge what it is that you're feeling and let it go. Change the focus, shift the focus, think about something else. So what does that look like practically? Let's say I'm out in public and I see a woman who is just drop dead gorgeous. Sometimes us as women, we compare ourselves to other women physically as well. We may wish that we even looked like certain women or had attributes like those women. But acknowledging another woman's beauty doesn't mean the absence of your own. Like, we're all literally beautiful. We were all created by such a master artist, the Most High God. Can you imagine if we all looked alike? Okay, I want you to right now just picture yourself going to your local florist, right? You see all these beautiful flowers, you see your lilies, you see the roses, you see the sunflowers. Each and all of those flowers are beautiful in and of themselves. Some people might have favorites and preferences, yes, but in essence, in the grand scheme of things, they're all beautiful and they all have things that make them unique about themselves. Do you know how boring it would be to walk into a florist and only see roses? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love roses, but I want to see something else. I want a diversity of flowers to look at. I don't want to just see one particular thing. And we're kind of like those flowers. You know, I don't mean to compare us necessarily to flowers, but just for comparison's sake, imagine if we all looked alike, if we all had the same face, the same characteristics, the same, like, that would just be boring. Most High God, when he created us, he wanted that diversity, and that's why he made us all different. Okay, so what? She's light skinned and your dark skin is beautiful. It is radiant. Once that sunlight hits you, ooh, the melanin is melanin. Okay, so her hair might be really long, but your hair's a little short, and that's fine. That's cute. Who doesn't like a little bob? That's cute. It's the bob for me. And this one's a big one in our community, a little controversial even. Okay, her hair might be long and silky and 3A, and your hair might be a little short, a little 4C, coily, but they're still in essence beautiful. I think the issue is throughout time, we've just been conditioned to think of beauty as this one standard. Like, if you picture America's idea of a beautiful woman, you don't picture necessarily women who look like me. You know, women who are dark skinned, women with afro type 4 hair. You don't usually picture stuff like that. You might picture maybe a woman who might be mixed, a woman who's light skin, curly hair, light colored eyes. And I'm just being honest, that's typically the standard for what America deems as beautiful. But you need to tell yourself, you know what, I am beautiful, and I'm beautiful because the Most High God made me, and my God does not make any mistakes. He made me with the perfect eyes and the perfect eye color, the perfect head shape, the perfect hair texture, the perfect skin color. He made me just perfect, and I don't care what anyone else has to say about that. I know that I'm beautiful. That's what you have to start telling yourselves. And don't be envious of another sister because her features might differ from you. That's how the Most High God wanted her to look like, and he made you how he wants you to look like. So just be happy in that and embrace that. Embrace that we can all be beautiful, because we all are. My next tip is going to be count your blessings. Like, focus on the things that you do have. Listen, you have the chief things in life. You should not be complaining. If you have clothing on your back, if you have a roof over your head, if you have food in your fridge, water in your fridge, a place to lay down at night, there's nothing for you to complain about. Honey, there are people all over the world that wish that they had access to the things that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. And honestly, I get it. I know that even that statement in and of itself seems a bit, redundant, but it's true. And I feel like we just get so conditioned to wanting more and more and more that we forget the blessing it is just to have the basic stuff that we do have. Do you know what such a blessing it is to have a couch? Something that I could just chill on whenever I want, to have a table to eat off of, even a lampshade, a light bulb. Like, listen, I know it might sound a little silly, but these are things that we should be blessed to have, because one day we can have it, the next day, God forbid, our place go into foreclosure or we get evicted, and then we're struggling. Every day we should be praying for a spirit of gratitude, just be grateful for the things that the Most High God has given us and allowed us to maintain. My next tip, focus on your strengths. I feel like so often we just beat ourselves up so much. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't do that. You suck at this. Okay, I might not be where I want to be when it comes to this, but let me look at the things that I am good at. Like, okay, I'll start with myself, for example. I don't really consider myself a public speaker. I don't like talking in front of people. People think just because I come on social media and I make these posts that I'm such an outgoing person that I love to talk. I'm not. I'm not. If you've met me in person, you might realize that I can be a little bit more quiet and, you know, just to myself, because that's how I am. Like, I'm a natural introvert. I can be outgoing when I need to be. Like, if I'm in a group of people, I'm not just going to be quiet and twiddling my fingers. No, I'm going to learn to be talkative, but it's not naturally in my element to do so. So I might not be much of a public speaker, but I am good at making people feel hospitable, or so I've been told. You might not be good at making the best cake or the best unleavened bread, but honey, you can throw down in the kitchen. If they want some chicken, they know who to come for. If they want some rice and peas, they know who to come to. You might not be book smart. Maybe you might not have all the knowledge in the world, and that's okay, but you are street smart. You understand how to do things like change a tire. You know where to go in certain situations. You know how to catch a bus. You know how to do basic essential survival skills, how to start a fire. If anything were to happen to you, you know how to handle it. Like, it's not a struggle for you how to figure things out in a practical sense. You know what I'm trying to say? We all have weaknesses. Like, we are not perfect. We are not perfect creatures. We are perfectly imperfect creatures. That might be a better statement to say. And that's okay. Like, that's where we all come into play. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and I feel as if when we collaborate with each other more, we can build off of each other so that we can learn to strengthen our weaknesses. Instead of looking at each other as a competition, we can look at each other as stepping stones, in a sense, to get where we want to go in life and overcome those weaknesses. My next tip is stop criticizing other people. I've noticed a lot of times we like to speak bad about other people or put them down because in the moment you feel as if it makes you feel bigger than them. You feel proud. You feel like you're on top of the world, but really you're not. You just look low. You look insecure. You look really dumb, if I could be for real. I'll never forget one time I was in high school and I was sitting at my lunch table just eating, and I remember I saw this girl online who wouldn't stop looking at me. And at the time, my friend, who was my friend at the time, was standing next to her and they were just talking. And I remember her looking at me and just mouthing something like really slow, and I couldn't understand like what she was talking about. So then my other friend had came towards my table, or came in my direction. I don't think she was coming towards me. And I pulled her aside and I said, "Hey, what was she saying?" And she was saying that basically she thought I was ugly. And in my head, I'm like, excuse me? I'm not ugly. Like, why would she say that? You don't even know me. Like, why would you, what led you to say that? Because I know I'm not ugly. But I remember it just made me feel so low. To this day, that was high school. That was years ago. I'm damn near 29 and I still remember that day. I remember everything about it. And that's another thing I want to bring out. People might forget your name, but they will never forget how you made them feel. They will never forget those interactions that you've had with them. And to this day, that's something that I wouldn't want to say it bothers me, but it still kind of gets under my skin how someone would say that about me, you know? And I don't mean that in like a boastful sense, like I think I'm all that, but it's like, why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? That was just such a mean thing to say. But, you know, I've gotten over it and I've created that closure for myself that maybe this is someone who was kind of insecure within herself, who said negative things about other people because she wanted to feel good, not really realizing that she made herself look like the Grinch just by saying a statement like that, because you don't do that. You don't say negative things like that just to put other people down and make you feel good about yourself. Another instance might be, let's say you have a sister who's trying to start a business. You know, she's saying to herself, you know what, I'm going to create a social media page, start creating content so I can promote myself a little bit more. And then of course you always have those hyenas on the side that say things like, oh, look at her, she only has 100 followers, that's it, 10 likes, that's it. Did you see that new video she posted? The quality was totally off. It's giving 2001. The saturation is way too much. Like, here you have a sister who's honestly trying to do something to better herself, and instead of trying to help her in the benefit, you know, correcting her or saying, hey, have you tried this, you want to make jokes on the side because you can't do what she's doing. Why put her down when you could lift her up? Why not suggest different apps that she could use to help her saturation or step her editing game up? Why do you feel as if you need to make fun of her and belittle her because of what? Because of your insecurity? Because you can't do what she's doing? Because you don't have the skills to do that? Like, we really need to look within ourselves and ask ourselves, why do we make the comments that we make? And if that might be a friend of yours who you know does something like that, why does that person feel so comfortable making those negative comments around me? What does that say about me and my spirit? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And honestly, my last tip, learn to love enough. Like, there's a reason why the scriptures say that we need to learn to be content. If you find yourselves always wanting more, you are never going to have enough. There's always going to be another car or another name brand item or another this, another that. You are never going to have enough. No matter how many clothes you buy, no matter how many houses you own, no matter how many cars you may acquire, there's always going to be more. There's always going to be the latest of something coming out. There's always going to be a prettier girl. There's always going to be a stronger girl. There's always going to be a more intellectual girl. There's always going to be something more than what you're used to or what is faced before you. But instead of focusing on that more, learn to realize that what you have is enough. The clothes on your back, enough. The food that you have to eat, enough. The roof over your head, more than enough. And the people who love you, the community you have surrounded you, that village, more than enough. Realize how blessed you are and be good with that. And I promise you, you will find contentment. Focus on inspiration, not competition. Look at other people's successes as some type of motivational basis. Look at the strategies that they implemented and see how you could implement them on your journey as well. Learn to acknowledge our differences. Like, realize that we're all different and what works for someone else might not work for you. Focus on your strengths and what makes you unique. But yes, those are all the tips that I have for you guys today. I really hope that they were helpful, you guys, and things that are practical to implement, because that's my thing. I want practicality. Like, we can have all the knowledge that we want in the world, but if we don't have tips that are actually like practical and easy to implement, then what's the point, you know? Sure, you listen to another video that was self-help, but what did you get from it practically? What are you going to actually apply to your life? So I hope that these tips were able to help you guys in that way. And again, I know that they might be easier said than done, but with time, with practice, honest practice, they will become easy and they will become routine. And remember that you are enough. What you have is enough. And honestly, just keep pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself each and every day, and you will grow. I'll see you guys in my next one. Shalom.